Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. Starting off locally here in Trinidad and Tobago. Police Commissioner Alistair Guevara says investigators have gathered evidence into the January 20th police-involved shooting that left Joshua Samaru dead and Kaya Seeley paralyzed, but insists it cannot be disclosed publicly without jeopardizing the case. Now, bear in mind, I understand that some of the evidence may not be able to be presented. But why is it almost all the evidence isn't being presented, especially after you're talking about months have passed and you allowed this woman to be able to leave? She was told that she was a part of the investigation. Now, all of a sudden, you have overwhelming evidence and none of it except one altered video, one zoomed in video was released into the public domain. And all of why the secrecy? Speaking to reporters at the launch of the Police Services Diplomatic Security Unit on Friday, Commissioner Alistair Guevara said officers have been advised against releasing evidence from the investigation into the public domain. He stressed that the matter must be addressed through the judicial system. Why? Usually we get to the media and the public are informed about a lot of the evidence, in particular in these cases, especially when it is police involved and they're trying to clear the names of the police officers. They don't wait until a court case. They show the evidence. They show the spent shells. They show the gun, the firearm that was in the possession of the criminals. They usually give us a lot of evidence to verify their claims. How come in this case that is not what is being done? My response: how come there was never this amount of secrecy surrounding other cases where individuals were charged for shooting at police officers, as I just said? How come that has never been done before? Why now? Why the change? Why this amount of secrecy? How come Kaya was told that she was free to travel abroad because she wasn't under investigation? Is it true that Kaya was never fingerprinted or tested for gunshot residue? Is it that the TTPS is trying to keep all they're already spewing propaganda into the public domain, telling us that Kaya shot at the police officers, when the video footage shows us that the initial gunshot came from the police officers, came from the direction of the police officers. It entered the side window and exited the front window, the windshield on Kaya's side of the vehicle. We already know propaganda is being spewed by the police service. So what else are you hiding? That's the question. And then you want to try to censor people like Ian Allen, censor the media, anyone that is coming up with an opinion. Just now, everybody will be told that they cannot talk about this case in public. That is the next step. That is what Kamala and her rough men are going to try to do. Tell the rest of us that we cannot give our opinions on this case anymore in the public domain. And then you want to call this a democracy, Kamala Prasad Bisasa? The original video shows clearly that your precious rough men, Kamala's rough men, were the only ones who were shooting at a man who had already surrendered. For the UNC supporters who continue to ask why it is they were fleeing from the cops, it doesn't matter why. It doesn't even matter if it was that the police had a legitimate reason to pursue them. The reality remains that after they crashed, they surrendered. Joshua Samaru's hands were up in the air. And therefore, what the police were supposed to do is arrest them without incident. And if they were really being shot at prior to what we see in the video, what the police officers would have actually done is exit their police vehicles, but stand behind the doors and so forth, and command both Kaya Seeley and Joshua Samaru to come up with their hands in the air or their hands on their head so that they could be arrested without incident. And if they started to fire the officers, they would have remained behind their police vehicles and returned fire. That is what would have happened. You would have never seen police officers boldly come out of their police vehicles and just start to shoot and walk towards the vehicle if they were in the line of fire. And that does not make sense to any of us outside here, except the UNC fanatics who are defending this crime, this extrajudicial killing, simply because the government is defending the police in this case. If the government was condemning the police, they would have been doing it as well. except for the minority in the UNC who always support the police, whether PNM in office or UNCs in office. I wanted to say, rest assured that God will hold you, Alistair Guevara, the government, and the rest of the TTPS who are involved in this case accountable for your actions. Rest assured, even Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar will face God's judgment for what she is doing here, for discriminating against anyone in society, including myself. She's not talking about me personally, but I'm talking about anyone that opposes this case and is asking questions about this case and supports protests against the corrupt system and the corrupt TTPS. She is discriminating against all of us and making this as though this is something political. I don't support the PNM, so this can never be political. A lot of other people don't support the PNM, and yet we have a concern about this case. And UNC supporters used to have the whole pushback movement, the whole ground report team. Once upon a time used to have concern about police brutality and extrajudicial killings. Now they're being very diplomatic. They're saying certain things, they're being a little concerned whatsoever. But they're far more diplomatic about it than if Rowley was in office. You can imagine if PNM and Rowley was in office. All now, Andy Williams and Lennox Smith will have been rallying with these young ladies instead of criticizing them and telling them, oh, you're going about doing the protest the wrong way, as though you all did it the right way. The vast majority of times it had any pushback protest, it was shut down by the police as well. So don't tell us, Tata, about you all went about doing it the right way. Because the vast majority of the protests was shut down by the TTPS. What do you think was the reason for the ended up having the tear gas incident and stuff like that? So don't come and tell people anything. I know you're telling people about, oh, you should not get politicians involved in it. Who are you to tell people whether to get politicians involved or not? The UNC, I can understand if you're saying don't wear no UNC or PNM jerseys in the protest. And yet people are still free to do that if it is they want. And the government not supposed to start to target people and call them PNM just because PNM politicians are standing in solidarity with them. Because I am not PNM and I am also standing in solidarity with them. So what the ground report is saying is total and utter nonsense. And you're tolerating nonsense just because the party you support is in government. Even though, give credit when credit is due, the ground report is saying that they do not support the fees and the fines and the taxes and so forth. They don't support how the government went about shutting down CPEP and URP and stuff. It should have been done in a much more compassionate, a much more professional way where people wouldn't end up losing their jobs for months upon months. So I am giving them credit about that. And they do have concerns about this Kaya Sealy case. But I'm telling you, if the PNM was in office, the pushback movement, this would have been pushback 6 or a new series of pushback 1 under the Kamala Persad administration. But no, well, under the PNM administration. Right? But because it's UNCs in office, no pushback, no help, no actually going out there and giving them guidance if you want to give them guidance because of the experience you had in the past. No. All you are telling them is that they're going about doing it the wrong way. Wrong way. You know what's the thing about it? As much as Rowley was a tyrant, as much as Rowley was a dictator, as much as the PNM is an autocratic party, even though they knew the UNC and the opposition was supporting all those protests under the Emperor Thanos Rowley, they never ended up designating certain areas as places that cannot hold protests. All they did was use the police to abuse people and to run them from the places, but they never ended up doing like what this UNC government is doing, which is designating zones where it cannot have protests at all. Kamala and the UNC is taking this type of tyranny, this autocracy, this communism, this dictatorship to a whole new level that even Rowley and them didn't do. Ground report, be honest about it. This government is being more extreme than even the PNM when it pertains to this case. So let me read over that part of it. Yes, I know my initial reports these days are quite long, and I apologize for that to an extent, but it's important because this issue needs to be addressed. So I said, rest assured that God will hold you, the government, and the rest of TTPS officers who are involved in this case accountable for your actions, and all those UNC activists, for betraying the citizens of this country, including myself, you all will be held accountable as well. My friends who have totally disappointed me online, I used to think that you used to just stand up for good, for the actual biblical reasons of standing up for good against evil. Now I'm seeing that you all are either silent or supporting the government. So it shows me that politics matters more to you all than human rights. As I said before, we see evil in your eyes, Guevara. I see it every time I see a video about you. That's why I'm not even I'm featuring your video in this news report, because it's too evil in my opinion. Your eyes, I see it in your eyes. I see the evil in your eyes, Guevara. Evil and arrogance. You think that you're above the law. You think you are God unto yourself. You think that you're above the law, but God is greater than all politicians who are defending you. Rest assured, the government is going to be held accountable by the Almighty God. Jesus, my Lord and Savior, will hold you all accountable for your actions. Kamala Persad-Bissessar, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, now the new Queen of Trinidad, or the new Empress Thanos of Trinidad and Tobago, has defended the actions of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service in shutting down a protest outside the office of the Director of Public Prosecutions on Wednesday, warning that attempts to intimidate prosecutorial officials will not be tolerated during the ongoing state of emergency. How come? When she was the opposition leader, how come she didn't have any problem with protesters going by the DPP office, with the pushback movement going and attempting to give letters to the DPP? And it wasn't that just two people just going, it was a crowd, so we know it was a protest. How come? How come our side, my side, the UNC side, how come the opposition never said, you're endangering the life and of the DPP by going in large crowds to hand him any letter? You didn't say anything back then, but you have a problem with it now. Hypocrisy to the highest level. My response, secure and protect the DPP from exactly what Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar? It was peaceful. Those protests were peaceful, just like when the pushback movement went to meet with the DPP back under Emperor Thanos' Rowley reign. But you are a hypocrite, Kamala Persad-Bissessar. I'm telling you, honestly speaking, the Prime Minister should undergo a cognitive evaluation in order to determine if she's fit to continue performing her duties in an effective and professional manner. Because I'm telling you, what is taking place right now isn't making sense. Something is terribly wrong. This isn't normal. When our side, UNC, was protesting by the DPP's office and the Red House, were we posing any threat to government officials? Kamala Persad-Bissessar, can you tell us that? All the UNC activists outside there, when we were the ones pushing back, when we were the ones holding protests in all these different places, were we endangering anyone's lives? You are a vindictive and deceptive dictator who's actually behaving even worse at this point than Emperor Thanos Rowley. Something I never thought was possible. I didn't think any leader would have ended up ever being more evil than Rowley. Kamala is proving me wrong. Kamala is proving me wrong. I'm telling you, even Rowley right now is probably shocked at Kamala. I don't know if he's envious. I don't know if you'll be envying her. I'm probably wondering, whoo boy, how come she even more evil than me, boy? Because Rowley is evil. But I'm waiting for his response on this whole situation. Thus far, I haven't heard anything. We've heard from the opposition leader. We have heard from Michaela Pandey and so forth. And Pandey is right for standing up for the citizens of this country, whether it's just for political reasons or not. She's doing the right thing. But I haven't heard anything from Rowley just yet. And maybe because he's dumbfounded. He's still probably wondering, who is this woman? Because, of course, he would have known Kamala in the past. And the Kamala that we have nowadays isn't the same Kamala.
Weather report for Trinidad and Tobago on Saturday, May 30th, 2026. Rain and isolated thunderstorms are expected across Trinidad and Tobago on Saturday, May 30th, 2026 due to an incoming tropical wave. The Trinidad and Tobago Meteorological Service predicts initially sunny, hazy, and breezy conditions. The weather will become partly cloudy to cloudy by late morning, bringing periods of rain and a moderate chance of heavy afternoon showers. High temperatures will reach 30 degrees Celsius to 32 degrees Celsius with overnight lows around 24 degrees Celsius. It will feel like 33 degrees Celsius during the day. Wind gusts up to 45 kilometers per hour are possible, especially near heavy downpours. The tropical wave will bring temporary relief from Saharan dust, but a new dust event is expected to return on Sunday. If you plan to go out on the water, seas will remain moderate. Waves will reach 1.5 to 2.0 meters in open waters and near 1.0 meter in sheltered areas. Note that spring tides are currently in effect, which can cause higher than usual tides.
International news now. On May 29th, at the direction of U.S. Southern Command Commander General Francis Donovan, Joint Task Force Southern Spear conducted a kinetic strike on a vessel operated by designated terrorist organizations in the Eastern Pacific. So you see, tribal leaders of the Caribbean, tribal leaders and tribal people of the Caribbean. It's not just Caribbean waters Trump and the government of America were targeting. It's terrorists in general. I'm not saying everything that they're doing is right in general, but when you're targeting narco terrorists, I have no issue with that. That's not extrajudicial killings, that is war. There's a difference. You can't wage war against your own citizens like what the TTPS is doing here in Trinidad and Tobago. That's a whole different topic. You cannot make the comparison. Extrajudicial killings, we need to follow due process in our own country. When it's pertaining to war, there's nothing like due process. You target your enemies. That's totally different, people, and common sense will tell you that. Intelligence confirmed the vessel was transiting along known narco trafficking routes in the Eastern Pacific and was engaged in narco trafficking operations. 3 male narco terrorists were killed during this action. No U.S. military forces were harmed. Southcom is unwavering in its commitment to applying total systemic friction on drug cartels. In some more pleasant news, a bear in Asheville, North Carolina, was recorded breaking into a parked U-Haul van and helped itself to what it found inside. A video shows the bear opening the driver's side door, climbing inside the vehicle, and rummaging through its contents. You know how to drive? Do you have your license? Jokes a woman watching it all unfold before the bear emerges from the van with a brown bag in its mouth. Now that's something nice to conclude today's news report with.
Bible quote of the day. Romans 1:16-18. For I am not ashamed of the gospel, because it is the power of God that brings salvation to everyone who believes, first to the Jew, then to the Gentile. For in the gospel the righteousness of God is revealed, a righteousness that is by faith from first to last, just as it is written, the righteous will live by faith. The wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all the godlessness and wickedness of people, who suppress the truth by their wickedness.
Folks, that brings us to the end of today's news report. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe most of all. In Jesus' name.